welcome to our new podcast, This Writing Life, with me, Stuart White, and with Melissa Welliver. Hi, Melissa, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Yep, I'm Melissa. I'm the author of The Undying Tower, and I work with Stuart at Write Mentor.
And I'm Stuart. Obviously, I started Write Mentor a few years ago and continually like doing podcasts and videos. So we've decided to do one that's a more generic writing life one where we can discuss the various highs and lows, ups and downs, trials and tribulations of being a writer
Uh-oh.
and everything and everything that comes with it. So Melissa and I are going to kick off in this first episode chatting about writing, but specifically about what it is we love about writing and why we do it not every day for some of us, but as
Not for
often
me.
as we can. So we're just going to kick off. Melissa, do you want to tell us a little bit about what you are working on at the moment? What are you writing just now?
Yeah, sure. So at the minute, I have handed in a zero draft, or what some people call a vomit draft, very much so in my case, to my editor at Agora of book 2 of the Undying trilogy. So I've done that. So that's the Undying City. I've had a developmental edit on that sort of vomit draft. And now I'm working on draft 2, but really it's draft 1 for me. So I'm pretty much writing it from scratch, but I know absolutely everything that's happening. So it's quite nice whenever I open the document, like I have a little 2 or 3 paragraph thing saying this, then this. So I know roughly what I'm doing. So that's what I'm working on at the minute. Trying to write every day, especially in April for deadlines, but it doesn't always work out that way. You know how it is. So that's what I'm working on.
Cool. And did you get a lot of notes and edits and things to change on the feedback?
No, it was great actually. I didn't, which is awesome. So I'm in full control. I can be in full control freak mode. Everything is me. I could do whatever I want. No, it's not. It's not quite that bad. But I think the thing is because it's a second in a trilogy. I feel like I'm given a bit more freedom for specifically this one. I feel like it won't be the same when I'm wrapping stuff up. Like there'll be a lot more questions. Whereas in this one,
Yeah.
I'm answering some questions, but I'm asking a lot more. And that's fine because there's a whole nother book to wrap up. So yeah, it's been quite nice actually. I've got a lot of freedom.
Cool. And that actually, the way you described that actually tells us a lot about your writing process and your writing life and so on. Yeah, no, that's interesting. And obviously, book one came out last October and has done really well. So you'll be hoping that this one lives up to the expectations.
I know that's the only scary bit is that now there's expectations. Before there were no expectations. I could just, no one knew who I was. It was fine. Like didn't know anybody that had read my stuff apart from like my mum, which actually is quite a scary expectation on itself. My mum's a very demanding lady when it comes to her books, so that was pretty scary. But now I've got like other people that I don't know the last name of, or possibly sometimes the first name of. I only know their screen name on Goodreads, which is terrifying. So I now have to live up to that expectation, as you say, but also still a little bit calm because I've not wrapped everything up yet. So I still have a chance to pull them back in with book 3. So it's fine. I'm not really bigging up this book, am I? It's going to be great, guys. Really excited. We're going to see the whole world. It's going to be great. It's so much more world exploration. It's going to be awesome. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'm up to. So feeling okay about it. Tiny bit of anxiety, but not too bad. What are you working on anyway?
Me, so it's slightly complicated at the moment. So I submitted a book in February, as you know, and since then I've been working on something new. You've actually read some of the start of it,
Yeah.
the YA thriller, I guess, set on the
Yeah.
moon in a future colony.
Yeah. Like crime noir
It's
almost. It's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, quite a dark one.
Yeah.
Yeah, not light reading, and actually probably the opposite of what everyone's asking for in the industry at the moment. Uh,
Perfect. Perfect time.
yeah, I hear a lot of agents and editors saying, "Oh, we want YA romance or just something that's really fun." So I've gone in the opposite direction and read
Rebel.
something that's really dark. Yeah, very heavy. But yeah, no. So I've been working on that, I'm just under 40K at the moment. Haven't actually worked on it at all over the last week or so.
Right.
But I will need to get continuing with that. But yeah, it's the first draft, so it's not it's not too much pressure, and
Yeah.
it's not like I'm not like you. I don't have deadlines to meet, and and other things. So it's a bit easier for me. And yeah, I'm also I think I told you about the middle grade pitch that I'm working on at the moment,
Yes.
sort of outlining as well. So, um, yeah, just my usual flipping about, going from one thing to another.
Get to the sticky middle
Uh,
of one, quickly jump into another project, shiny new thing syndrome. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely got massive ADHD symptoms. I think, in terms of my writing anyway, and I never stick to anything with any great
Mm,
attention for too long. So anyway, yeah, I've I've been shifting around, but yeah, the main one is that YA,
mm.
the YA thriller. So yeah, I'm quite excited about that though. It's not probably not going to sell, but I'm enjoying it. And actually, that's what we'll talk about today. Is
Yeah.
like the why we're doing the writing. It's not always just about selling books and so on.
Yeah.
Unless you have a contract
Yeah. Unless
that
you
says
have to sell books and there's no
yeah.
other way out.
Or you have an agent who says, "Listen, I'm on commission here, so
I need to
we
eat.
better sell these books." Yeah. Oh, right, brilliant. So yeah, that's what we're working on at the moment. As you can see, obviously quite different stages. Melissa's got a contract; she has to work on something. I'm a bit more free, so things are a bit easier for me, I guess. We also asked all of you who are listening, if you follow me on Twitter, that is, and if you don't, you can. We asked this week what it is that you love about writing. What makes you sit down, and what gives you that sort of selfish buzz from the process? And we got over 50 replies, so I'm gonna just gonna read a couple of them out, and then Melissa and I will just sort of discuss them and see if we find any common ground between what other people are saying and what we feel as well.
Right.
Um, so yeah, we've got things like it lets me live other lives, locations, time periods, professions that I wouldn't normally have the chance to experience, which is so true. I think.
Yeah, that's a really good one, especially at the minute with every time, without bringing the podcast down, every time you turn on the news and it's just so awful. And we're really lucky at Right Mental. We have an amazing author called Tanya Byrne. Read her books, they're incredible. And she was doing a little tutorial that I was lucky enough to sit in on. And she was saying, we're lucky that we're writers and we have these other worlds that we can go into when things get too heavy for us. I thought that was a really good point because sometimes it can stop you writing, and I totally understand that things going on around you. But other times, I've got mentees as well that have said, actually, I have decided to write this week when I thought I wouldn't because I wanted to have that escapism. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, totally, yeah.
Mm.
And I'm exactly the same. That's probably why I rarely write stuff that's set, contemporary on our world.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
Just to, like I felt like the last novel I wrote was one where the main character escapes his time period in his world and goes off on adventures
Mm.
around the universe and around time. And I thought that was probably a bit of a metaphor for where my mind was at during
Mm-hmm.
during the pandemic and so on. So
Yeah, that's true
yeah,
as well. Yeah.
yeah, definitely very relatable. Let me find another good one. Oh yeah, this is a good one, Melissa. I know you relate to this. I
Uh-oh.
get to be all the versions of me. In the everyday world, I get to be maybe two or three. In the writing world, I can be mercurial, terribly mean, terribly kind, but all the different versions. Which
Yes, that's such a good one. I totally agree. I was doing an interview the other day and I was saying that lots of authors don't like it if you say, oh, obviously when you're writing this main character, that's you, right? And we say, no, it's fiction. It's not a memoir. But actually, I find that, especially maybe not traits I am, but traits I wish I was more of. So I am the sort of person, and especially before the pandemic, that really cares what people think about me. But I have a character, Rivers, in The Undying Tower, who does not care, and a couple and Kinney as well. She does not care what people think about her, and I kind of love slipping into that person and being that person for a little bit, and it gives you a bit of confidence, I think, yourself as well, which is the same when you read, which is interesting. Like if you read a character that's like that, you kind of want to be more like that person.
yeah, and that's what writing fiction allows us to do is to um, almost exaggerate those character traits that we wish we had.
Mm,
And often, like when I'm reading a good book, that's often what I see in a character is they express the things we wish we would say, and they
mm,
do the things that we wish we would do in certain situations.
right.
They're braver than us. They're more outspoken. They
Yes.
defend themselves with greater passion. They
Mm-hmm.
stand up against injustice.
Mm-hmm.
They do all the things that we wish we could do more of as real people.
Yeah.
And I think that's the sign of a great character in fiction. Um,
Yes, it's really nice. And
yeah,
yeah, definitely the same reading and writing, but kind of in
yeah.
from different directions, experiencing the same thing. It's nice. That's a
It's
really
funny
good
you
one.
mentioned your. Yeah, yeah, it is really good. And it's funny you mentioned your character Rivers
Mm,
earlier there. I was watching The Office last night, the American one,
yeah,
and there's a character Stanley.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and he's like the king of sass. He just doesn't care.
Yeah, that's so true.
Like whenever they say something, he's just like, nope.
Yeah, we're not
Yeah,
doing that.
he's like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Nope. And then obviously but then you suddenly see when like something threatens his job or something that actually affects him.
Yeah,
You know, like how much he defends himself, and but he doesn't care who he offends when he's defending himself.
yeah.
Is brilliant.
And that's what makes him a
Um,
3D character. And I think sometimes if you're just taking, I'm not suggesting when you write your books, guys, that you just take one facet of your personality and split it like
yeah,
like split multiple personalities and just have all these. No, obviously each character still needs to be 3D and have their own problems and be rounded. So yeah, that's a good way in that they are rounded. But I like, yeah, I just like seeing parts of myself that I would prefer were heavier. And I think it definitely does help. Like I do think I'm a little bit better, tiny bit better at not worrying about what people think, which is good when like people are reading your book and posting on Goodreads. It's a useful
yeah.
skill.
It is a useful skill, especially in our open social media dominated world.
Yep.
Let me see if I've got another good one. Oh yes, this this person said here, I am the story. It makes me laugh, cry, get excited when I write, rewrite, and read back the story. I just really enjoy writing, which is a nice
Oh,
one.
that's so nice. When I'm writing, sometimes it's fun and sometimes it's not. So I don't really enjoy dialogue. I literally find hard because I find it hard to what's the word, like lay it out on the page. I find it slower and I'm pressing, maybe I'm just not a very good typist, but I find it slower to literally put out like the lines. And sometimes I actually just write dialogue as one big block and then edit it later. Whereas action scenes, I love doing, and I like putting on some action music and just racing through the scene, writing loads and loads of stuff. And I just find it quicker. Like I could probably write like 1,000 words in half an hour if I'm writing an action scene. But if I'm writing dialogue, or especially, I think everyone will agree with this, logistics. So I have to get from one house to another house. Oh my gosh, like it'll take me 2 days to write 2 pages because I just find it really dull, which is a really bad thing to say, I think. But yeah, so it can be fun, and I do really enjoy it sometimes, but not every scene.
Yeah,
Yeah, are
yeah.
you the
I know.
same?
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely the same. Like the one I'm planning out just now. I've sort of written. I was reading somewhere about 7 key scenes in a story, and
Okay.
I've written those out. Just sort of very brief outline of each scene, and I'm keen to just like maybe experiment with this one and just write the key scenes first
Hmm.
and have no transitions between them initially.
Oh,
And because some books that I actually really like, and it's the same with that episodic format that you have on series and TV. Sometimes they just cut,
yeah.
and like something just ends and then you pick it up. I don't know, 2 days later,
Yeah.
and there's no real explanation of what's happened in between, but you're fine because actually what happened in between was quite dull and
Yeah,
boring.
and you don't
So
really care. That's a good point.
yeah, no,
Maybe we should do that
yeah, yeah, I think so.
if it's boring.
It's worth trying. And
Yeah.
I guess you're in the lucky position that if you do that and it doesn't work, your editor will say, "Oh, you have to put a transition in here." And
Yeah. Yeah, true. Yeah. You just lose all sense of self-editing when you're contracted. Oh, that's such a terrible thing to say. It's like, oh, when you're contracted, you did, but you do actually, you lose a lot of skills, to be honest. And one of them is
yeah,
definitely self-editing. But although you
but
kind of hope that you're practicing so much that it's just there in the background anyway as you're writing.
yeah,
Yeah.
but also the advantage of that is that you don't have that or as much of an inner critic sort of self-editing
No.
as you go, and you can be your freest, most flowing self when you're actually writing the book, and
Yeah, I think
that's
you are.
surely going to be of an advantage. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. Okay, let me see. Oh, this is a good one. When I'm writing, I fall into the world of the story, leaving mundane and stressful reality behind. I find it relaxing or exhilarating depending on what I'm writing. Most of all,
Mm.
writing gives me a happy high that nothing else can get close to. It feels right and it keeps me sane ish.
Yes. I think definitely the high thing is actually so true. What is that quote? I hate writing, but I love having written. I can never remember who it's attributed to, and I always feel like it's attributed to maybe the wrong writer. It's obviously a writer it's attributed to, but it's so true. Like sometimes
Yeah.
when I'm writing, it's a real struggle. The worst bit about writing is sitting down at the desk with and opening the Word document. That's the worst bit. It really is.
Yeah.
And then actually, sometimes I can be halfway through. I can write like 10,000 words in a day, and I'm really, really happy. And I can't wait to get back to it the next day. And it's like I go to sleep and my brain resets. And again, it's really difficult to open the Word document. But I love, especially after I've done it, I feel such a sense of achievement, even if maybe other people, like people in your life that are family or friends who don't write, they might think, oh, right, so you just like, they see it the same as if you played video games all day, if you just like watched all of the Lord
Yeah.
of the Rings all day. But to you, it's like, no, I like achieved this thing. I got to this point in my story, which is really nice.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's not a writing's not a passive pastime like
No.
watching TV can be, or so on. Like it's very active.
Yeah.
I think I've got to engage more of my brain and more of my energy doing that than I do most other things.
Yeah, which is why it's hard sometimes, especially if you're
Yeah.
tired or so like we were talking about I'm trying to write every day at the minute, but I actually don't usually write every day. I'm one of those writers that part of writing for me is not necessarily sitting at my desk, and the bits I like are when I'm thinking about the story, and I'll think about the story for months before sitting down at my desk and writing it out. And I want to make sure it's really straight in my head before I even write my plot. I might write a couple of notes down if I think of like a really fun line or a really fun character, but I don't really. I just mostly have it in my head. Like I'm writing in the shower, I'm writing when on the train, but it's just all in my head. And then I sit down and do it. So I like that bit as well. It's like the daydream bit, which I know a lot of people perhaps don't get past the daydream bit. That's why they come to organizations like Write Mental. Like, no, I want to get words on a page now. But I've been thinking about
Yeah.
this for a long time. But I think if you are daydreaming about that story and you want to get it down, then you've started the writing process. Maybe that's a dangerous thing to say.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the process does occur just in our heads when we're bobbing about in the shower, for example.
Yeah.
Always get good ideas, which you can
Yes.
never write down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think when I go for a walk or I basically do anything where my brain isn't actively engaged in something.
Yeah.
Usually when it's not looking at a screen, I find that some of the best sort of ideas and so on
Yes.
pop into my head.
Yeah. Which is nice. And that's definitely part
Yeah.
of it that I enjoy.
Yeah, yeah, me too. And it's interesting because that tweet obviously talked a little bit about how they felt before and also how they felt after they've written.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you touched on that a little bit there, but before you start writing, is there anything you do? And this is good for reluctant writers or those who find it hard to get started. Is there
Mm.
anything you do? Any pre-writing rituals? Like, do you have a stretch? Do you do some meditation or yoga or go for a jog?
I
What's your
think,
pre-writing routine
yeah,
like?
it's tricky, isn't it? Sometimes it's really good if you can get a group of people, especially online, if you're doing sprints. So
Uh-huh.
before starting a sprint, I've like got my timer, and I have an app on my phone. I think it's just called the Tomato Timer. And what's really good is you program in, so you feel like you're starting already. I like to program in. I'm going to do 20 minutes and then a 5-minute timer for a break, and I keep putting that in. And then once I've got going, I can see the time is coming round to that break, and so that really helps. And also, if I have a completely blank document and I'm opening it, I put in every chapter heading and put in page breaks. And even though it's not actually writing as such, it makes me feel like I've started. And then I see the word count go from 0 to say 50 because I've put in every chapter 1, chapter 2, and it makes me feel a little bit more. I've put at the beginning this draft 0, word count 0, and I see that word count go from 0 to something, and then it's not as scary as a blank page. And then the other thing I do, which I technically is a pre-ritual, is if I've been writing the day before, never finish at the end of a chapter, I write at least one sentence into the next one, even if it's a rubbish sentence that I might even delete the next day. Because again,
Yep.
the blank page I just think is the worst bit I
Yeah,
hated.
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's that. I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Because yeah, when you open that document, it's I don't know what it is, but the minute you write any words,
Mm-hmm.
you're suddenly fine. It's sort of
Yeah.
like going to the gym, isn't it? As soon as you get your kit on and you actually go and do it, it's not too bad.
Yeah,
You
I
quite
wouldn't know,
enjoy it.
but
And
yeah, if you say so, Stuart, that's fine. I believe you.
yeah, but then you sometimes sit for hours beforehand torturing yourself
Yeah.
about getting started on it.
Yeah.
And then you do it and you're like, what was the big deal? Why did I do that?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's that monkey brain, isn't it? It's that monkey sat on your shoulder, like, don't do it. Do something else,
Yeah.
procrastinate. And it's like, actually, if I just, as I say, when I get going, I'm a really quick writer. And I know that if
Hmm.
I have a particular deadline, I have to hit, say, even 3,000 words a day, which I know for some people way outside. But even if even if your thing is like a 500 words a day, and that's just how long it's going to take you, I know with my writing, I can get 3,000 words. And if I just sit and do it, I can probably get it done in a couple of hours, especially first draft. I'm not talking about quality writing. I'm talking about quantity of writing. It's fine. Like
Yeah.
I don't know why I faff so much, and I can think, well, I've got 2 hours still left in the day, and then so it's the end of the day. And I'm not a night writer. I have to write in the daylight, which is a bit easier at the minute, obviously, because it doesn't go dark at 3 o'clock. But
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, it can be so difficult to sit down and start.
It's funny because you mentioned earlier on as well about timing,
Mm.
and I've got this on my desk. It's very it's
Um,
very Wizard of Oz.
it is, yeah, it's
Like I'll
terrifying.
just smash it. Yeah, just in case anyone's listening and not watching, I'm holding up one of those hourglass timers. It's got green sand in it, and it's currently granulating its way into the bottom of the two bells at the moment. But it's an hour.
An
It's
hour.
yeah, which is quite nice. And what you can do is, yeah, you can just set that timer, and you can say like, I'm not going to check like social media.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do anything else except look at my document for this hour.
Yeah.
And when you sort of commit yourself to that, then you say, well, actually, what else am I going to do? I'm just going to sit here and and stare
Yeah. It's
stare at nothing
boring.
at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So my choice is boredom or writing my story, and often that works. So yeah, I sometimes just sit and just pop this on my desk, and it really helps. I think
Yeah.
that it's like a visual stimulus as well.
Super visual. And I think you said the words, yeah, I have to look at my document, not necessarily writing. I think that's really important as well. I think sometimes in sprints, if people decide to take that up, so we set the timer half an hour, that's the right I'm going to do. People get very stressed about typing the whole time and being fast at
Yeah,
typing. And it's like, no, I'm just saying you have to look at your document. Even if you look at it, like sometimes when I set them up, I do sort of 20 minutes, 5 minute break, and then I sort of switch to half an hour and then maybe 40 minutes or an hour for a couple of times, and then have a big break, like for lunch or something. And I find sometimes in the first couple 20, 30 minutes, I'll write like 100 words because I'm really refamiliarizing myself with the document. I'm not really with it yet. And it's like a warm up exercise to actually writing. And that's
yeah,
fine, because I always say when people do sprints in the Right Mentor Hub and they get stressed about their word counts, I say, yeah, but half an hour ago, at 9:59, you didn't have 347 words, but now you do. That's better than having no words. And they're like, oh yeah, that's true actually. So it doesn't really matter how many words you do, as long as you're doing something
yeah.
and looking at your document.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think there's I can't remember who told me this now, but I remember someone saying to me they use the 8 word method,
Oh, what's that?
and basically they just say they tell themselves they're only going to write 8 words that day,
Oh,
and that's all they're expecting of themselves.
yeah,
But the trick is, as soon as you write 8 words, you have to finish the sentence, then you have to finish the paragraph, then and so on,
yeah.
and she says that she never just writes 8 words.
Yeah, that's a really good
You know,
one, actually. Yeah, I like
yeah,
that, because then it feels like technically, if you hit 8 words and you really are struggling down. I know some people have been in the hub and they've had like long COVID symptoms with like brain fog and all sorts of things, and they're really struggling to write. But that's a really good one, because if you hit 8 words and you really are struggling, then just stop. And that's
yeah.
fine because you did something. Yeah, I think just doing anything at all is the goal, isn't it?
Yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah, as I say, she said that she meets almost no one who ever stops at 8 words.
that's
You always,
interesting.
yeah, yeah. It's the psychology of just getting started. It's sort of like, when you go to the gym or you do training, it's just like, right, so just do this first exercise.
Yeah,
And that's all that I expect of you. But then when you do the first one, you feel good about having done that, and then you do
yeah,
another one and another, and and I think writing's the same, isn't it? It gives you those same dopamine hits, that reward
yeah.
pathway gets stimulated,
It
and
does. That's so
yeah,
true. Yeah.
and that's what keeps you going, and that's why often when we are on a roll with our writing,
Mm.
coming back to it the next day is easier
Hmm.
than if we've had a big break,
Yeah, for sure.
because we remember that reward we got the previous day from
Yeah, that's
the
very true.
the
Yeah, it's hard to
dopamine
come
hit.
back after
Yeah,
a break.
yeah, for sure. Okay, so that was really fun chatting about some of
Yeah.
our rituals and so on there. Yeah, that was really nice. And obviously it was good as well to go through some of the tweets that we got in response to why people love writing. obviously, in the weeks to come, I'll post up a few other ones about things we'll chat about in the future as well.
Mhm.
But it was really nice just to kick off that episode and talk really positively about why we love writing and the positive benefits of it as well, how it impacts on us, particularly at this time in our lives and the way the situation is in the world.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. And without thinking about those end goals and just thinking, yeah, but I want to get published. It's like, let's go back to basics. Rule one, write the book. It's nice to go
yes,
back to that, actually. That's really the
yeah, and
bit that is the good bit. Come on, guys.
it's so true because
Yeah,
we get so wrapped up in that, don't we?
for
And
sure.
we forget. And like I see people that saying, I just can't do this anymore because of the rejections.
Yeah,
I can't do this anymore because for whatever reason I can't finish this book because it's too difficult.
yeah,
And it doesn't need to be about that. It's just like you don't go to the gym so that you can become as big as the Rock or
yeah.
so you can run as fast as Mo Farah.
That would be
That's
insane.
not. Yeah, you're just doing it for a bit of personal self improvement.
Right.
And I was listening to Radio 2 this morning, which makes me feel really old. Radio, what is it they say? Like Radio 1's for like the youngsters, and Radio 2 is what you progress to once you've hit middle age. I
Yeah,
think.
that's true. Although you should switch to what my dad was listening to, Stuart, because he was listening to classic and they were playing the Lord of the Rings theme, and he'd never
Oh,
heard it
amazing.
before. So
Oh,
you're missing out.
I am missing out. Although I have heard that soundtrack about 100
Thousand
times.
times.
I'm absolutely obsessed with Lord of the Rings, but
Sorry, I took you off your
but
tangent. Radio 2. Old man
yeah,
radio,
yeah.
yeah.
So yeah. I was listening. Yeah, exactly. The old man radio. I was listening to this morning, and it was a lady came on, and she did a little monologue, and it
Mm.
was really therapeutic. She was talking about the art of practice,
Hmm.
and that not just in terms of the benefits in terms of developing a skill and getting better at something over time, although that in itself is rewarding. It was about the impact it's had on her, her mental health. And
Ah.
then the positive impacts it's had in other areas of her life as well,
Ah.
because she knows that it's 100 days of whatever it is she's doing. So she did 100 days of drawing initially,
Okay.
and she said after day 2 or 3, she was like, "I'm going to give up. This is terrible. All my drawings are rubbish. And what's
Yeah.
the point in doing this? It's a waste of my 30 minutes of my time every day." But she said she managed to somehow stick at it, and by the time she got to day 100, she said, her artwork was infinitely better.
Yeah.
She had a huge portfolio of diverse and different pieces as well.
Hmm.
Just generally every aspect of her life had improved as a result of sitting down and undergoing that art of practice.
That's so
And I
nice.
think that's yeah, and it got me thinking, and I was like, it's so true. Like I'm not writing to get a book deal or anything else. Like I'm writing because it's something I want to get better at, and
Mm.
because it gives me a lot of therapeutic benefits as well as obviously the actual craft itself.
Mm. Yeah, that's really nice. That's a nice note to end on, actually. That's
Yeah,
a nice
yeah, I
little
think so.
It's kind of makes me
Yeah,
want to go and
sorry.
write now. I can't believe it. I actually
I
want to do
know.
some writing.
We've stolen Radio 2's piece from this morning, but
I think they'll
yeah,
cope.
it fits in nicely. Yeah, I think, yeah, I don't think their listenership is going to be too dented by us. Okay, perfect. Thanks for joining me, Melissa. It was lovely to chat to you.
Thanks, Stuart. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening, folks. Take care. Bye.
Bye.